It's a very good morning to Angelina Kelly. How are you, Angelina?
Angelina?
I'm all good. Another day, another Man United story. I just, it's the gift that keeps on giving.
Can
Oh,
I
it
can
really
I ask you a
is.
question, Angelina? I said it to
Of
Natalie earlier in
course.
the show. How miserable is Manchester with City and United at the same? The families must be everywhere divided.
Honestly, I mean, I've been in Manchester for, nearly a week over this festive period, and it's grimmer than usual. I mean, the weather's worse, people's vibes are worse. The only people I have seen walking round in anything Manchester United or Manchester City related, people that I've spoken to have been people visiting to go to games. The locals, they're all Stockport County fans, I think, at this point. Maybe Bolton Wanderers fans, I'm not sure.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, Stockport, they're in the playoffs of League One, so I bet they are walking around with a bit more of a swagger than everybody else. But talking of Manchester United, then lots of articles in the papers today, like you mentioned. And Cristiano Ronaldo, well, he's decided to put the boot in once more.
Yeah, he's reared his head, hasn't he? Of course he has. In the Sun, at the back page, it says tanked because Ronaldo was receiving an award and was quizzed on Manchester United, and he claims that he could fix the issues if he owned the club. How many times have fans sat there and said, if I owned that club, I'd sort it out? That's great and everything. But he says that the issues go far beyond Ruben Amorim, and he has compared the club to an aquarium. So I will read this quote. He says, if you have the fish inside the aquarium, I assume, and he's sick, and you take him out and you fix the problem and you put him in again in an aquarium, the fish will be sick again. The problem of Manchester United is the same. The problem is not always the coach. It's much more than that. I think that's, you know, pretty obvious that the issues run far deeper than the coach.
Yeah.
It's he's kind of saying what we already know, but I think Ronaldo, I'm sure he probably felt quite upset about the way that things ended. Somebody with an ego like that is not going to take lightly to Eric Ten Hag dropping you. So it kind of makes sense that he's had something to say, but it's nothing that we don't already know. I
No,
feel.
Angelina, there was one interesting line in it, but he talks about, his potential after football and wanting to be an owner of a big club.
Yeah.
Is he going to have a consortium that ends up trying to get Manchester United? Did you read that into it, or is that just a pipe dream?
I think that's just him with a bit of a pipe dream. I would be very surprised if Cristiano Ronaldo decided to buy Manchester United. I don't know. I just don't see it happening. I feel like the way that the relationship ended with Manchester United, I feel like surely if you're going to sink so much money, into a club, you'd want one, and this sounds horrible saying it about my own club, but you'd want someone, I don't know, with a little bit of a safety net. And at the moment, I guess Manchester United don't. But who knows, maybe, in, I don't know how many years' time, probably in about 10 years' time when he decides to retire at 50 or whatever, maybe then Man United might be in a slightly better place. I'm not too sure, but I'd be surprised.
Okay, what other articles then can you bring us on?
I mean,
it is all
I'll be
United.
honest. I'll be honest, the front page of the Sun, mean
gosh.
United. And
What
I
is
must
going on?
say, there's a cracking picture of Sir Jim Ratcliffe dressed as Scrooge with like a Man United style nightcap, like Scrooge wore. And that was my personal highlight of this. I mean, when INEOS took over at Manchester United, I think fans were expecting some positives. And in my opinion, it couldn't have gone worse. So Sir Jim Ratcliffe has been dubbed Scrooge because he has now, so not only has he made 250 people redundant, he got rid of the Christmas parties, he stopped stewards getting bonuses. I think he's hiked the prices of disabled parking, all these wonderful things. The cherry on top of that is that he has now cut funding for a charity that helps former players. So Man United previously gave £40,000 a year to the trust, so 10,000 each quarter. They didn't even tell them that they weren't giving them any money anymore. They just kind of looked and thought, we've not had the 10,000 in the last two quarters. Let's contact them. Nothing. They've contacted again, and Omar Barada has called a trustee days before Christmas to say, that money, we're not giving it you anymore. I'll have a chat to you in January, but I don't see this changing. Now, this is an organisation that helps a lot of ex-footballers who weren't maybe earning the kind of money that you see footballers earning now. So it's names, there's 300 members, including Brian Robson, Alex Stepney, Dennis Law, Dennis Irwin, Brian Kidd. They also help with things like funding funerals for former players who maybe can't afford, their families maybe can't afford it. They actually have events. They have these events at Old Trafford. They rent the space and pay for it. They also donate to children's charities. So again, from a PR perspective, it's disgusting, really, when you look at it. And the way that this is all being handled is just horrendous. You know, the supporters have said that this is like a kick in the teeth. And also, when you think about it, these cuts that he's making, £40,000 is a drop in the ocean.
Absolutely.
When you've got players on over £300,000 a week, it just is so disappointing.
Oh dear. They're stripping the club of everything, that any outlay they think they can claim back.
It's the soul. They're stripping the soul out, really.
Yeah.
I mean, apart from the fans, but even then they're trying to price them out with some of the ridiculous ticket charges. I mean, it's unbelievable.
Do you know what I find infuriating with things like this? It's like, so Jim Ratcliffe, you're okay to have all your multi-billions, but no one else is allowed to have any money, you know, or get payment from a charity.
Well,
I mean,
he's Britain's richest man.
I know.
And didn't he want the government to help regenerate Old Trafford or whatever? I mean, it's absolutely staggering that he thinks
out of his 23 billion that he has, he couldn't find 40 grand for a charity. Says it all.
That's what I don't. That's, to me, is one of the worst things I've ever read about any kind of cost-cutting measures. £40,000 a year is nothing. It is, as you pointed out, a drop in the ocean. And what I'd love to see, and I know it probably won't happen, but I'd love to see some of those players step up and go, do you know what, we're not going to have this. Because
reportedly, Bruno Fernandes did offer to pay for, people who worked at Old Trafford that weren't given tickets to the FA Cup and their accommodation, etc. He apparently did offer, but that was rejected. I'm not too sure who actually rejected it.
It doesn't look good on the club, does it, when things like that? No, well, the thing is, Nat, that when you look at the club and how much good they can get by doing the right thing, but they've obviously set a company to go in there and say, right, where can we save money? Where are all the places we can save money? And there'll be a whole list of them, and that is one of them.
But when this is a charity that's been set up basically to help those players, and I know you mentioned some of those already as members are some more familiar names, but there'll be a ton of names that most of us won't know because they probably never played for Manchester United. They might have come through the youth system but never got to play. And they're the ones that really need that funding, that help through this charity. For you to just cast them aside so easily, and he's meant to be a fan of this club. Well, you don't even understand this club that have obviously done some good things over the years for a lot of people. I mean, there's even talk in the paper here about perhaps cutting, halving the annual £40,000 budget for the club's Disabled Supporters Association. Why? You don't need to do that. That's just ridiculous. You know, there are some things that you just have to keep in place because you're doing good things.
There's loads. I'll give you an example in golf. There's loads of golf competitions that go on charity based. Okay, where companies back to give all the prize money. Birdies give a certain amount to charity. This charity, that charity, and it feels like football just wants to have literally take everything from every supporter.
Well, I'll tell you what, you can knock the Glazers for their mismanagement of the club, and maybe that's why we're in this situation with Sir Jim Ratcliffe, but at least they were doing some of the right things for the right people that have been part of the core of this club for so very, very long. Yeah. What Sir Jim Ratcliffe is doing, as I mentioned, feels like he's just stripping the soul away.
Yeah, well, you could have cutbacks, but you can then take it way too far, and it ends up affecting charities or people
but also morale within your workers,
stewards, and and bonuses and things.
It's just crazy, absolutely crazy. Angelina, for now, thank you very much. Not the festive spirit at all that we would have liked to have spoken about when it comes to what's going on at Manchester United.
On AM, on DAB, via the talkSPORT app and on your smart speaker. talkSPORT.